So, Badr, perhaps if we can begin with you. So, I mean, as CEO of Strata, you've obviously got a huge day-to-day involvement in manufacturing. What messages have you taken from the last 3 days?
Thank you, Simon. I would like to start a little bit before that. You know, first of all, introducing my colleague. I'd personally like to introduce him again, Ludo Alcorta. He is, I call him my partner in crime. You know, both of us, we started off 2.5 years ago, working on an idea, on a concept that this world needs a manufacturing gathering. And it needs to bring the private sector together with governments, with civil society, to shape up the future of manufacturing. And what we wanted to do by bringing everyone here is to combine the efforts of the world with the UAE and showcase what we, join forces on, what we agree on, what do we have the same mindset on, and then where are the things that are specifically important to us. So specifically about the UAE, and as a manufacturer myself of aircraft parts, what was so important to me was to make sure that I understand where the leadership wants to take the country, what are their aspirations for the future. When we talk about the post-oil era, we talk about the next 50 years of economic development, where will manufacturing play a role, and what kind of manufacturing, and how are we going to be competitive? We heard His Excellency Khaldoon mention repeatedly two things: forefront, the UAE being at the forefront of technology or forefront of, let's say, high-tech manufacturing. And then the second thing he kept on repeating was competitiveness. And we are distilled day in, day out to make sure that we are growing not just new projects, but we're trying to become globally competitive, globally relevant, and then working in partnerships with companies such as GE and Siemens. As you have seen, their commitment to the country, their commitment to the initiative is something to really be proud of. They have taken this country as not just an end user or a consumer. They have treated us as a partner. They have joined forces with us in making sure that we can hold such a global gathering and bring the world here. But on top of that, in addition to everything that they have done for the Manufacturing Summit in Abu Dhabi, they have even contributed opportunities. The microfactory on one side, the 100 million euros contribution from Siemens. This is important. And it's important because it creates opportunities for us. And in turn, we have a very global view of the world where we try to contribute ourselves with investments or donations or even help where it's needed. So I think from my perspective, as a manufacturer of aircraft parts, or as a manufacturer in general, I think this has been extremely important because it tells me what is expected from me. And in turn, I have 750 people working for me in the factory. I can tell them what is expected from them.
Ludo, what about yourself? So you have a different perspective. So UNIDO, the UN Industrial Development Organization, responsible for coordinating an international perspective on these issues, I guess with a lot of government type work. What are your key takeaways?
Well, just let me start first thanking the UAE and thanking all of you for coming here to this journey that we started some time ago. We hadn't coordinated our speeches before coming, so in a way we're digital twins. Maybe because we more or less think of so much alike. He said some of the words that I was going to say, so now he put me in a problem too. But anyway, I'll start and say I want to make 3 points. One related to the past, one related to the present, one related to the future. Thinking about the past, when we started this journey, we both believe in manufacturing and we think our countries and our institutions are deeply committed to manufacturing. But we realized that manufacturing was no longer aspirational. It's important that people believe and aspire to work in manufacturing, that believe in manufacturing. We wanted to change that. That was one of the first reasons why we're here. Then we also, of course, we are facing highly disruptive technological change, which is generating immense fear and uncertainty. We have to tackle that fear and uncertainty. If we do not convince people that technology, in the end, may be for the good of all, we will not be able to move forward as we need to move forward. And the only way to do this is by generating transformational ideas. So we want to generate here big ideas, big, forceful ideas that will take us into the future. And of course, as my digital twin just said, we needed to bring stakeholders together. The only way these transformation ideas will create a bright future is if everybody that has a say in manufacturing works together. And that's what we try to do here, bringing all stakeholders together. So, present, lessons have I learned over the last 3 days? I think I learned 3 lessons. What have we achieved here? I think we are a notch better, a little notch better, at understanding what this technological change and technological revolution is about. And we have a bit more understanding also of what is the implication of this technological revolution for manufacturing production. That's for me the first lesson that I learned. The second lesson is that we have learned that the manufacturing and technological change will have huge implications for employment. There's no question about it. But we have also learned that we will not deal with huge implications of employment by stopping trade, but we will deal with them by innovating and reskilling our populations. And the third point I wanted to make, it has to do with the fourth industrial revolution. It will only become a true industrial revolution if we take into account sustainability dimensions. Robots that are not recyclable, food that is not processed in sustainable conditions will not make this a true industrial revolution. In fact, it might take us backwards. Third point has to do with the future, and I like to finish there. We need to generate more transformation ideas. We cannot stop there. The challenges and the complexities that are going to face in the future are so huge that we have to continue generating ideas. So we need more GMIS. But I think we have to also frame these new ideas in the context of what we now call the 2030 Development Agenda, which is what the world as a whole has committed to achieve by 2030. So what we can do is now make it a connection. We have to broaden and deepen our that transformation ideas, what if it generated here, and move it into concrete and tangible outcomes. And this is my final point. I'll stop here. UNIDO, in very close collaboration with PwC, commits itself to continue with the GMIS initiative, but especially to work with universities, companies that are here, business associations, academics, in the preparation of a declaration, of a global declaration that will take some time to develop, but eventually we'd like to take it to all instances of UN and beyond to make it universally acceptable. And that's a commitment that we have today as a closing remark in this event. Thank you. Many thanks.
Great, we'll look forward to future iterations of GMIS. Badr, what do you think comes next?
Well, I'll tell you that if you give this to the private sector, it will not take a few years. It will take a few months, and the private sector is quite quick. But I just wanted to comment a little bit on what Ludo was talking about. We face the same challenge in this country about us making manufacturing aspirational, and I see Ms. Sweeney sitting here, so I'll use 3M as an example. When I met with the 3M team, and they expressed that when any candidate, any university candidate comes out, has a choice between 3M and Google, 9 out of 10 times they will choose 3M. And the fundamental difference between 3M and Google is that you have a product. You have an outcome. You have something that is tangible in your hand, as exciting as an environment or a work environment that 3M and Google are. At least you have something that you can touch. And that's the experience I have in Al Ain, in our aircraft factory. Our employees, 51% of them are nationals. And out of the 51%, 9 out of every 10 nationals are women. They feel proud whenever a part goes out of our factory and is installed on an aircraft. And that makes us feel very proud. Now, a couple of just summary about what was going around here. We spoke about the projects that Ludo was talking about, international collaboration. We managed to combine our efforts with Siemens and Etihad Airways to manufacture within 5 months the first 3D printed aircraft interior part. And that is certified in 5 months, record time. Again, keeping it to the private sector to drive development. When you look at the microfactory and the projects that we signed up with GE and Dubai Future Foundation as Mubadala and Dubai Future Foundation, it is about incubating new projects, new businesses, new sectors that will come out of that factory and create development for the country. Just yesterday, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan announced even the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Award for Global Prosperity, because we believe that sharing is part of our mandate in this world. We need to actually share developments to support others who are in need of it. And that award, I believe, will be a game changer, because it actually takes manufacturing innovation to solve humanitarian problems and make the world realize that there is real tangible value for the manufacturing sector. So I do hope that out of this exercise in 2019, when we do come back to Abu Dhabi, that we will have taken such great steps out of the leadership that was in this room and that was here over the past 3 days to actually make a considerable positive impact on society and on the rest of the world. So I'll conclude with that, Simon.
Well, GMIS has been all about collaboration and bringing different stakeholders in the room together, and I think it's actually been really effective at that. I mean, the discussions I've had sort of on panels on stage and also in, at lunch or in the informal sessions throughout the time, I've definitely have seen a coming together of policymakers, of civil society, and of the private sector. And yeah, I think we should recognize the collaboration, I mean, between you two in particular and your broader organizations. A great example of a PPP who've managed, and what you put together is this event. And there's been a lot of food for thought, also a lot of real actions that I think people are going to be able to take away. And we've now got some, thanks to your conclusions, we have some benchmarks to hold ourselves to account when we're back here in 2019. So very much looking forward to that. This is to conclude. Thank you very much to the audience for being here. It's been a real pleasure to be able to be involved in such a stimulating set of discussions with great speakers, great questions from the audience, and a lot of interaction throughout these 3 days. It's been a long conference, but even though we had 3 full days to get through, there's still a lot more to discuss. So I hope the discussions continue on Twitter, online, and also in person through our networks and the collaborations that we formed during these last 3 days. So thank you very much for being here, and to a great GMIS.